I don't want the person who could potentially be in my life and around my kids one day to be so unhinged.
I'm nice. I'm not just like, oh, I just want to. It's very difficult for me sometimes to figure out if a girl is actually romantically interested in me or if they just want to be my friend.
He's saying like, oh, if I die during the anesthesia and like tell my mom and like, you've been really good to me and you've been one of the closest people here with me. I didn't think of like the death part and like how serious it is.
Gosh, death, violence, and seriously bad flirting. I mean, in the search for love, there are roadblocks, but then there's also the fine art of being your own worst enemy. So, the last time we saw them, the boys' night out had taken a drastic turn. With the help of Rob stirring the pot, Jay and Carlo had got into it. They began physically fighting. And it's here in the middle of the fight that we rejoin them in this episode.
You're a bitch. You're a bitch. Yeah.
No, come on, bro. Come on. You got the right one on that. Walk your ass over here. Walk your ass over here.
Now, before it gets too physical, Jay and Carlo are pulled apart. But things have descended into complete chaos. Like, it is completely out of hand. Now, it's pretty clear that Carlo's at fault here. It's down to him that this has happened. Now, maybe alcohol is at fault, which isn't an excuse, or maybe he's just a really bad communicator, right? Maybe this is how he feels comfortable releasing the emotions that he otherwise can't express. But the truth is, while Carlo is upset that Jay has asked out Tiffany on a date, ultimately it is his own fault. He's the one that fumbled the bag. He and Tiffany were in a great place. He was leading the race out of all the guys interested in her, only for him to then tell her he's not sure how he feels about the fact that she's already a mother. I mean, for all his anger towards Jay here, for as unhappy as he is that Jay actually talked to him about asking Tiffany out, which surely you've got to say is the right way to do things from Jay's point of view, Carlo is clearly having a lot of difficulty dealing with his own emotions.
You're a bitch.
I came and addressed you like a grown-ass man, so now your feelings hurt.
No, you didn't.
You get close, I'ma slide your ass, I promise you.
We can talk about it, but we gonna have to bring it down a couple notches.
Look, here's the thing. Why exactly is Carlo angry with Jay? Like, he says he thought he was Tiffany's number one. He doesn't like the fact that she's now going to go out on a date with Jay. But if that's the case, shouldn't he be talking to Tiffany about this? Besides, from what we saw at least, I'm not exactly sure where he's got this idea that he's Tiffany's number one. He blew his shot. Like, if he thinks he can tell a single mum that he's not sure about her kids and think that it's not going to change anything, then the guy's completely deluded, isn't he? But as far as Jay is concerned, the fight isn't about Tiffany. He doesn't like the way that Carlo acted. He doesn't like the fact that when he spoke to him privately man to man about Tiffany, he acted fine with it, only to now, later in front of everyone, pick a fight. Now, there is, of course, let's not forget, another guy who's also interested in Tiffany. Rocky. So why is it that Carlo has such a big issue with Jay when he seems to be absolutely fine with Rocky?
You ain't even go for Rocky like that. Rocky walked out with the girl last night from the tiki party and you went to your room mad. You got their animosity towards me and not Rocky.
He not threatened by Rocky. He threatened more by you.
It is an interesting observation, right? Rocky was, after all, the first person to connect with Tiffany. You'd think that Carlo might have a bigger problem with him, but he doesn't. And part of that might be because of the fact that Rocky just isn't a super serious kind of guy.
Honestly, Rocky's hollering at everybody.
And now he's asking that girl out.
Exactly. Like, he got away out of this conversation real quick.
Yeah, Rocky made sure not to get involved in this drama, but let's be clear, he is also talking to other people. Tiffany isn't his one and only. Now, that could mean that he's not as into Tiffany as these other guys, or it could just mean that he's a normal, sane human being. You know, the kind of guy that isn't this emotionally invested after knowing someone for less than a week. It might turn out that being laid back might actually work in his favour.
And that mustache just does it for me.
Now, having witnessed everything that just happened, Tim, Tiffany's BFF, jumps on his phone and sends Tiffany a text message. He fills her in on everything that just went down. And as predicted, Tiffany can't believe it. She isn't happy about it.
I don't want the person who could potentially be in my life and around my kids one day to be so unhinged.
That that makes complete sense. I mean, getting physical with someone is never okay, and Tiffany does have a lot more to consider than just who she likes, who she's attracted to, right? She needs to, of course, put her kids first. She needs to be very careful about who it is that she brings into her children's lives.
I don't know. I think Carlo's just as bad as at this point. What's more psycho, a guy knocking at 5 a.m. or a guy fighting over you after one date?
Yeah, I don't know what it is that they're putting into these drinks, right? Are they plying them with drugs or something? Because all of this behaviour is way too intense. I mean, these guys really aren't acting rationally, are they? It just goes to prove, put a bunch of guys in a confined area in a goldfish bowl, add some beautiful ladies and some alcohol into the mix, and then sit back and watch the competition begin. I guess it's a tried and tested formula for good reality TV, isn't it? But there is at least one silver lining to this all. Learning that the guys' night out was even more of a disaster than their own night out. It does, for a moment at least, unite all of the girls. But it also leaves Tiffany feeling super confused.
A few days ago, this guy said he might not be interested in being with someone who's a single mom. And now he got into a fist fight with someone for asking me out on a date.
Now, Tiffany does actually admit that the toxic side of her brain likes the fact that men are fighting over her. But the adult part of her brain knows that this behaviour isn't okay. Now, what's clear is it definitely doesn't sound like she thought there was any kind of understanding between her and Carlo. Like, she's genuinely shocked that he's gone to this level to fight for her, right? So if Carlo felt like this, if he was this invested into Tiffany, he should have communicated that with her. And as it turns out, the next day, he might get the chance to do that. You see, when we join them the next day, as the group has gone to a natural spring pool to hopefully, supposedly relax for the day, as they're sat under a cabana, Elise and Tiffany begin to question Carlo about what actually happened.
So Jay's saying, yeah, you know, I asked Tiff on a date, you said it was cool, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, hold up. That's not how it went down.
Honestly, I don't understand why he's so annoyed that Jay spoke to him about it. Surely that was the right thing to do, no? Like, it would have been worse if he asked Tiffany out behind his back and didn't say a word to him. Ultimately, the fact is, it's not up to Carlo to decide whether or not Tiffany is cool with it. I mean, the only person that gets to decide that is Tiffany herself. And just look at how Carlo is downplaying everything. Like, he's massively twisting the truth. This isn't exactly what happened, is it, Carlo?
We got in each other's faces, screaming obscenities at each other, and essentially Jay swung at me.
But did you throw a punch?
I didn't throw a punch.
Okay, while it might be true that Carlo didn't throw a punch, like, it's hard to tell with all the chaos that happened. I'm sorry, but he was the aggressor. He's the one that started the fight. He's the one that walked up to Jay, looked him in the eyes and called him a bitch. Like, for as much as he's clearly trying to place all of the blame on Jay here, that's just not fair. Carlo needs to take responsibility for his own actions, right? And while he does at least say that he feels bad about the whole thing, he also uses it as an opportunity to try and reignite things with Tiffany.
Yeah, I left feeling like terrible that happened, honestly. Like, I thought it was like way too much escalation. And of course I want to talk to you, sir.
Yeah.
Now, understandably, Tiffany looks shocked by this. Like, she's getting all sorts of mixed signals from Carlo. One minute, he's acting super unsure as if they don't really have a future because of her kids, and yet the next minute he's fighting over her, which does raise the question. How much of Carlo's actions are being fueled by jealousy? Has he suddenly got serious about her after learning that Jay is also into her? Like, is it the male ego at play here? Is he suddenly competitive because he's now fighting another guy for her affection? Well, whatever the case, Tiffany, having also been painted an inaccurate reflection of what actually happened, is now left doubting whether she should actually go on her date with Jay. But that doesn't stop her from spending more time with Rocky. Time will tell whether that has any legs.
I need a ponytail so I can hold my hair out.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, yeah. What the?
Now, while Tiffany's problems all stem from the fact that she has too many options, Tim has completely the opposite problem. He's been struggling to make any connections, but that might now be about to change. You see, rewinding back to the start of the day, Tim and Elise were travelling to the pools together.
I'm trying to be your bestie.
But I feel like we're hooked really weird.
I'm hooking you like I'm the woman.
Well, I'm the man, so I'm like a bro, you know?
This guy has zero game. Like, that is not how you show your interest in someone. He's literally just friend-zoned himself. Now, Tim and Elise have been spending quite a lot of time together. They have got closer. Tim does like her. He wants to get to know her better.
I want you to be happy.
Yeah, Mom.
What?
You're sweet.
I'm excited. Me and Elise are riding together to the cenote. I'm really hoping that we get a chance to bond. Maybe I can make a connection.
These two might seem like an odd pair, right? I don't deny that. But in a weird way, they do kind of work. Like, they get on really well. She completely understands his humour. The way that Tim tries to bond or flirt with women, right, would have most women running in the other direction. But Elise isn't quite like that. She humours him. She's open to his weird conversation skills.
Is your number 2 or 3 digits?
Number for what?
How many people you is it in 2 or 3 digits?
2.
2 digits. Okay.
Oh.
Seriously, is that Tim's idea of flirting? I mean, asking a woman how many men she's slept with before you've even asked her on a date might, for many people, be considered rude. And he doesn't stop there. You see, when Elise is confused, when she's trying to understand what he means by 2 or 3 digits, Tim then takes that as an opportunity to start insulting her intelligence.
That would be
Yeah,
from 10 to 99.
Yes. Okay, all right, sorry.
God damn, I'm not talking like rocket science here. Okay.
I think Rob's face here speaks for us all. Now, the flirting, if you can even call it that, goes on with Tim asking Elise if she's ever had an STD.
Have you ever had an STD?
Never.
Honestly, it's a very weird topic of conversation for a girl you're trying to show your interest in, but Elise takes it completely in her stride. She seems to understand Tim well enough that this might actually work. Now, when they make it to the natural spring pools, Tim, in his usual fashion, rolls his eyes and expresses concern about the water quality. But he does push himself out of his comfort zone. He does take a swim. That is, until the love coach calls him for a chat. You see, he, like the rest of us, is worried about Tim's attitude.
He's got a repertoire of excuses, I'll call him. I'm the oldest one here. I'm not as good looking as the other guys. He's kind of got them ready to roll to deal with perceived rejection.
Which is absolutely true. I mean, the coach is right. But what the coach doesn't know, what Tim in fact tells him, much to the coach's shock, is that he's beginning to form a connection. He's vibing with Elise. But of course there's a problem. Yes, there is a connection being built, but that connection seems very much a friendship connection. Tim, if he's not very careful, in fact if he hasn't already been, is going to find himself friend-zoned if he carries on like that. And he's worried. Like, he's not sure how to approach it. He's worried that telling Elise he likes her might ruin any potential friendship that they now have.
You won't know if there's that spark until you kind of take that leap, which involves vulnerability and possible rejection and all this stuff that no human likes.
I haven't been to dating scene in a while.
Okay.
So I'm a little rusty.
Tim might be rusty, but the coach assures him that the best game is to have no game at all. Just be yourself. And that is good advice, because we've seen it firsthand. The guy has no game, but he does know how to get along with girls. They do often like him, albeit almost as a gay best friend type figure.
I listen, I'm nice, I'm not just like, I just want to. It's very difficult for me sometimes to figure out if a girl is actually romantically interested in me or if they just want to be my friend.
So to figure out whether or not he actually has a shot with Elise, Tim will need to take the first step. But unfortunately, that won't be at the pools. Elise, as you may have seen in my last video, is too busy trying to get to the bottom of all the rumours. And if you haven't yet seen that, I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. Now, while Tim is going to have to wait patiently for his moment, Someone who hasn't been patient while waiting is Usman. You see, when Cortney went with Colt to the hospital, she wasn't replying to Usman's text messages. That left Usman unhappy, but this morning he's feeling a little bit better.
I'm super relieved that Courtney reached out to me this morning, even though it's so annoying that she is spending her whole free time with Colt.
Come on, Usman, it's not as if they were having a romantic getaway together, is it? Cortney was supporting Colt after his injury. And while Usman says that he's worried about Colt, he just doesn't want Cortney and Colt to get too close. Now, when Cortney returns to the resort, the reunion isn't quite what Usman hoped for. Cortney does hug him, and she even apologises for missing their dates. But that's where she draws the line. She's not ready for anything more.
I want to talk to you, though.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah.
All right.
Happy I see you.
You look
You
good.
fine, right? You okay, right?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, that isn't the reunion that Usman was hoping for, but whether that's because Cortney has reassessed her priorities, or whether that's because she's just emotionally and physically exhausted, isn't yet completely clear. Now, Cortney does say that the last 24 hours were really hard. Colt has multiple fractures. The injury is really severe. It's clear that even though she's physically back at the resort, her mind is clearly still with Colt. And the way that she's acted, the fact that she left the resort to be with Colt, has earned her a lot of praise.
I saw you at the ambulance, and honestly, if I didn't know you, I would have
freaking
swore
out.
you were his wife the way you were trying to take care of him.
No, we've been telling the hospital I'm his wife so I could go in the rooms with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Usman isn't going to like that one bit, is he? But Cortney is being really sweet and kind. And she didn't need to do that. She didn't need to be there caring for Colt, but she really has stepped up. Whether it's just as a friend or whether it does develop into something more, Cortney has gone up in my estimations for doing that. And by the sounds of things, Colt really is going to need as much support as he can get over the next few weeks.
They had to transport us to Playa del Carmen to a bigger medical facility so he could have surgery. They can't operate on it for a few days because they have to find a doctor that's able to do it because it's so complex.
That doesn't sound good. This must be a very stressful situation. But Cortney admits she didn't realise just how bad things were until Colt turned to her and asked her if he were to die from the anaesthesia to call up his mum. That came not only as a big shock, but also a big responsibility. Cortney, perhaps naively up until that point, had been under the impression that yes, it's a bad injury, but, he might not make it back to the resort. That's about it. Except the reality is actually much, much worse.
He's saying oh, if I die during the anesthesia and tell my mom and you've been really good to me and you've been with the closest people here with me. I didn't think of the death part and how serious it is.
Now, I don't know if Colt has an underlying medical condition. I don't know if he's had history of complications with anesthesia before, but from a quick Google search, again, I'm by no means an expert at this, but it seems like the risk of dying during anesthesia is very, very low. Perhaps that was the morphine talking. But one thing's for sure, this whole experience will have a very big impact on Cortney's journey going forward. It's been a big wake-up call for her, she now has a lot to figure out, as do all of these people. Will jealousy be a deal breaker for Tiffany? Can Tim escape the friend zone? And has Cole's nice guy act now been exposed? If you haven't yet watched that video, check this video out next.